All right, this is the copyright disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. And this video is not for any monetary gain. It is explicitly for the reasons stipulated in the Copyright Act of 1976 under Section 107. This is the book of Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 10, and it reads, For thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahushai, Bahashem, Rahak HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and our fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like it to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners, and your so called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom. This is your brother Ayashar Barzal, prophet of doom from the Indianapolis branch of the Great Millstone, coming back at you with another lesson that is edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. All right, this is another installment of our camps series called For Thy Violence Against Thy Brother Jacob. And it is a series where we go into the history of what the devil, the so called white man, Esau Edom, the hell that he has put on your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, and the Israelites scattered abroad, all over the world. All right, and like I said, another installment of this, and pretty much, he's being exposed with these videos, not just these videos, but by GMS as a whole, for his wickedness. But this is just giving you an account of his track record, and it's starting to catch up with him. All right. It says that shame shall cover them. They hate their own history. Look at what's happening right now. Taking away all of Jake's contributions that he's made to the history of this wicked place. All right, but that's okay. In a little while, this place will be no more, according to the scriptures. It says, "Thou shalt be cut off forever." So, the thing is, they seeing those chariots in the sky. You know, all around the sun, all in space. The Lord is about to make his move, you know, and take this devil out, and we're going to have the kingdom, all right, like we're supposed to, righteously with those new bodies, all right, and they're going to be subject unto us, and we're going to rule over them, all right. So without further ado, let me get to the article. And the article comes from our one of our sources called EJI, which means Equality Justice Initiative. All right, and this is titled On this day, November 9th, 1898, at least 9 black people killed by mob violence in Phoenix, South Carolina. All right, and the story goes on. Uh, on November 9th, 1898, a mob of as many as 1,000 white people waged a violent campaign to suppress black voting in Phoenix, South Carolina, that left at least 9 black people dead. No one was ever held accountable. All right. The first problem here with Jake, we're not supposed to be voting. You have to remember, we speak a bastardized language, a language that is not ours. Okay. And, well, we see in real time how at will Esau Edom changes words, in our lifetimes. Man and woman were redefined. All right. But this word vote, most Jakes don't know what it goes into, and a lot don't care. All they care about is the 92%. You know, get out and vote when we know those things are rigged. You know, especially the office of the president of the United States. You got to think about it. What what public election do you lose the popular vote and still win the office? All right. Although this is not, about that. The story is not about that, but just telling Jake, those things. A lot of them are set, especially with electronics now. They can manipulate numbers any way they want to. All right. But here again, you got that electoral college, which is rooted in the three-fifth compromise. All right. So let's get this word vote in the Edamon online. I'm going to show you exactly what it means. All right. This is a word vote now. All right. And it says a formal expression of one's wish or choice with regard to a proposal, candidate, etc. Here's the origin from the Latin votum, a vow, wish, promise to a god, solemn pledge, dedication. All right. So voting is essentially a vow to a god. All right. you know, a vote is futile for Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. He's the rule of heaven and earth. So that wouldn't be them. So what you're essentially doing when you vote is setting a ruler over you. All right. This is let me get that in Deuteronomy 17:15. I believe that's it. Salakia. Deuteronomy 17:15. Con. And this is a law. Okay. It says, thou shalt in any wise set him king over thee, whom the Lord thy power, Yahweh thy power, shall choose. One from among thy brethren shalt thou set king over thee. Thou mayest not set a stranger over thee, which is not thy brother. Okay. And hey, sorry, Jake, Obama's father is a Kenyan, which goes back to the Hamitic tribes. You know, that's not our brother. All right. Kamala Harris, Indian. You know, she's both of them have a substantial amount of melanin that would make you believe that, but it's about the bloodline and the seed line. She's Indian. Pictures of her all over the internet with the red dot in her forehead. All right. But Jake is, so hell bent on getting someone who they think will have their best interests put in office. It's not going to happen. All right. This place we're here on this place serving a punishment. Okay. We are serving a punishment here in Babylon the Great. All right. And those people are not for us. They never will be. And besides, even with this last race, first of all, they're not going to let one of us not only get in that office. Number two, nor will they let us be a heartbeat away from being in that office. So that's what it means to vote. All right. Back to the article, and I'll put a link to this article in the description box as well as the comments. Okay. It goes on. The day before, there was a general election in the predominantly black Greenwood County. All right. A white man named Thomas Tolbert was working to assist African Americans who had been denied the right to vote. Voting in elections had been rare for black men since 1876, when white leaders committed to racial hierarchy regained power in the state. Mr. Tolbert set up on the porch of the Watson and Lake General Store, the designated polling place for local voters, to collect affidavits from African Americans who had been barred from voting. They planned to use the collected affidavits to challenge provisions in the 1895 state constitution written to disenfranchise black voters. So that's what they do. You know, they only see you as slaves in this society. You know, not going to raise up over them. Even the curses say that. We're going to be we're over here in America on a punishment. Our true home is the state of Israel. Okay, the land that was promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, according to Genesis chapter 18. I believe it's 18. Let me get that. 18 or 15. Genesis, try 15 first. Yeah, Genesis 15:18. It says, in the same day, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai made a covenant with Abram, who was Abraham, saying, unto thy seed, which is Isaac and Jacob, have I given this land from the river of Egypt, okay, that's the Nile, unto the great river, the river Euphrates, okay, that's the river that currently divides Iran and Iraq. So it's not just a little slither that, you know, the tiny hats are occupying right now. That itself is the um, headquarters, as outlined in the book of Joshua, chapters 13 through 22. All right. So that's a large space. All right. So, yeah, you know, we should not be involved in their system. All right. And that's what they do, disenfranchise um, so-called black people. This is Isaiah 10:1. And it reads, woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees and that write grievousness which they have prescribed. And it says, woe unto them. That means death and destruction. And why is that? Because to write those laws in that constitution to prevent Jake from voting, it costs several lives, you know, and that's just one account of it, you know, this right here, just one account of it. All right. So they put these laws in place so that Jake won't have a say. Again, Esau wants Jake to be a perpetual slave, and you see it again with the this MOTB and all these censorships, all this stuff lining up. All right, goes on, verse 2: to turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless. So yeah, all of these laws are to put Jake in a perpetual state of want and need and servitude. All right, and you dare go against it, what do? Murder. That's what Esau does, the so-called white man. All right, back to the article. It says, J.I. Bowles Etheridge, who led the local pro-segregation party, and a group of his supporters approached Mr. Tolbert, ordering him to leave. Mr. Tolbert refused, which prompted Mr. Etheridge to tip over the box of collected affidavits and begin beating Mr. Tolbert. As the two grappled, Mr. Etheridge was killed, and his supporters fired on Mr. Tolbert and the black residents of Greenwood County who were handing in their affidavits. Mr. Tolbert was shot multiple times in the neck, left arm, left side, but ultimately survived the attack. Okay. It says, black residents of Phoenix hid in fear overnight as a large white mob formed in the wake of the confrontation. On November 9th, the mob abducted at least 11 black men and fatally shot 5 of them: Wade Hampton, McKinney, Jesse Williams, Columbus Jackson, Drayton Watts, and George Logan. The mob left the men's body next to a church where black citizens had recently attended a political meeting, sending a message of terror and intimidation to the black community. And see this is history repeating itself. All right. Now that was between um, two two white men. All right. But Jake is the one, you know, who was murdered. The same things just happened. You know, you had CK assassinated, and then what do? You get two. They go march into HBCUs. All right. You have two Jakes hung in the state of Mississippi within days. You know, the governor of Utah was hoping. Remember, he said he prayed 42 hours. I mean, 33 hours. That it wasn't that it was somebody else and not one of them. So they were looking for any reason, even though Jake had nothing to do with it. Looking for any reason. This is the same scenario right here. All right. There's nothing new under the sun, just like the scriptures say. All right. All right. It says on November 10th, the mob lynched three more black men, Essex Harrison, Ben Collins, and Jeff Darling. See, it didn't stop. It didn't stop. They look for a reason to kill Jake. All right. And that's to this day. It says days later, on November 14th, an elderly black woman named Eliza, this is days later, named Eliza Good was killed by white men firing weapons indiscriminately into houses on her street. The mob also burned some of the black residents and their white allies, and many fled Phoenix in the aftermath of the attack. This is all over voting. All over voting. All right. Which, like I proved, we're not supposed to be doing anyway. But this is what it's all about. Okay. That perpetual hatred of Jake. All right. Let me get this. This is the book of Amos, chapter 1, verse 11. And it reads, thus saith Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai, for three transgressions of Edom, and for four, that's sin upon sin upon sin, says, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with the sword, and did cast off all pity, and his anger did tear perpetually, and he kept his wrath forever. That's to this day. All right. Altercation between white men somehow, some way justify the death of Israelites. All right. Well, Esau's going to have to pay. All right. I don't want to make this too long. All right. It says, no one was ever arrested or prosecuted for perpetrating this wave of violence, man. All right. And we know, our go-to scripture when this happens. This is Psalms 73 and 5. It says, they are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men. And you see, throughout history, they just continually get away with the murder of Jake. Okay. Oftentimes, with nothing ever happening, or if something does happen, it is a very, very small sentence. You know, no justice. All right. And because they get away with that without any justice, it goes on and says, therefore, pride compasseth them about as a chain. All right. Violence covereth them as a garment. Yeah. So when you see them, you just know it's going to be violent. Nothing but violence. He hates to see Jake, enjoying himself. You know, that's just the nature of this devil. All right. And he just does not believe he will suffer any consequences. This is also Psalms chapter 10. Says, verse 5. Uh, his ways are always grievous, all right, always causing grief. Just because Jake wants to go vote, once again, we're not supposed to be doing that. He makes it grievous for him, murderous, to say the least. All right. Says, thy judgments are far above out of his sights. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them. Yeah, ain't nothing gonna happen to me. You know, He's saying that God ain't done nothing yet. There's nothing going to happen to me. All right, this is his attitude. It goes on. He have said in his heart, meaning his mind, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. All right, so that's why he does what he does. But we know that he was created to be the wicked, you know, and the Lord is reserving him unto the day of destruction. All right, this is the book of Job, chapter 21, starting at verse 29. And it reads, have ye not asked them that go by the way, and do ye not know their tokens? Hell yeah, we know their tokens. You know, steal, kill, destroy. All right. And not just stealing goods, stealing whole identities. All right. Stolen from the Romans, stolen from the Greeks, you know, and currently stealing it from the true people of Israel. All right. Everybody knows that they're not the people of the scriptures. Okay. Except the wicked. That's what you are. Amalek being at the top of Esau, you know. All right. But yeah, you're going to have to pay for what you've done to Jake, you know, with all this, you know, a murder, a killing. You're going to have to pay. There's no way you're getting out of that, you or your descendants. Okay. Scriptures tell us that. This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 14, verse 21. It says, prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers. So even though they were never held accountable, it's coming down to your descendants. Okay. Start that back at the top. Prepare slaughter for his children for the iniquity of their fathers, for the sin of their fathers. Okay. The children are going to have to pay for that. Okay. That they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. You will never be in rulership again after this is up, after your rulership is up. And it's coming to an end rapidly. All right. Verse 22 says, for I will rise up against them, saith Yahweh Bashem, Yahweh Shai of hosts, and cut off from Babylon the name, okay, Edom, and remnant, the descendants, and son and nephew, okay? That's the entire seed line. You will never exist anymore. And we are hastening that day for you to be out of here for good, never to return again. All right. But before that happens, you will definitely be in slavery for 1,000 years, twice as long and twice as hard. All right. And you will serve. And if you don't, same book of Isaiah, chapter 60 and verse 12. For the nation and kingdom that will not serve thee shall perish. Yea, those nations shall be utterly wasted. And there's no way out of it for you, Esau, Edom. All right, so-called white man. No way out of it because you are created to be the way you're going to be. All right. This is same book, Isaiah 26:10. Says, let favor be showed to the wicked. You have all the best things right now and still unhappy. You still have to still kill and destroy. All right. Yet he will not learn righteousness. In the land of uprightness, he will deal unjustly and will not behold the majesty of the Lord. Yeah, look at the state of Israel right now. I'm not calling it the state of Israel because it's, you know, it's not occupied by the true people. But look at what you're doing to our land now. The biggest rainbow parade and festive events, you know, messing with kids, a sanctuary, you know, for messing with children. You know, you commit those crimes over here and you go back over there and don't have to face any consequences. going back to that Psalm 73 and 5. But yeah, you're going to be done away with. All right. Close it out with the chapter we started in, Obadiah, chapter 1, verse 18. All right. Specifically, Esau, Edom. It says, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, Jacob being the southern kingdom of Israel, and the house of Joseph a flame, the northern kingdom of Israel, and the house of Esau for stubble. Stubble. That's, ash. As if you burn up, hay or stuff like that. Ashes, the pile of ashes. And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau. For Yahweh by Hashem, Yahweh Shai have spoken it. So, once again, Esau, Edom, your existence on this planet is on the clock. Like I said, it's going to be 1,000 years in captivity before you put away, according to Obadiah 1 and 18. Put away for good, never to exist again. All right. So with that, I hope this lesson was edifying to the elect body of the nation of Israel. Once again, I'm going to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rahak HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well in teaching me this 100% truth. Salutations to them and my fellow Akim who labor in this truth week in and week out on the highways and byways. Also, salutations to the hopeful elect of the scattered 12 tribes of Israel, scattered to the four corners of the earth, that be like it to the speckled bird, also known as your Israelite foreigners and your so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. To you, I say Shalom, Kwam Yasharala, Abba Babal. We got next. Shalom.